As you can see, I have my illustrations here. None of them are labeled. And I have no other resources in the room. Unless you count a high chair. So, in your skin, your upper layer is going to be your epidermis. The larger layer under is going to be your dermis. And finally, your hypodermis is going to be this subcutaneous fat down here, represented by these yellow blobs. Your papillary layer of skin is going to be this bumpy looking area right here. Your keratinocytes are going to be this top layer of skin. That's the actual cells of the skin. This jumbled up thing right here is one of your sweat glands that leads up to your pores, represented by the little holes up here. The sweat gland is used for thermoregulation by secreting water and electrolytes to cool off the skin. Your blood vessels are seen here with these red lines going through the skin. Okay, now we're moving on to the cell structure of the epidermis. So on the top, this top layer is the stratum corneum. This small pink line going under it is the stratum lucidum. The dark cells here is the stratum granulosum. And then this large area down here, kind of going like this, those are your stratum spinosum. And then the very tiny part down here at the bottom is the stratum basale. Up on the top here, we can see some different types of keratinocytes. On the top, these little hair-looking things are exfoliating, and then the line underneath them is actually dead keratinocytes. Finally, the melanocyte, this dark cell right here, that's what actually collects pigment and can change the color of your skin based on how much there is. So part of this bottom part of the stratum in here is the dermal papilla. That's where you get your papillary layer. That is the loose area of the skin. Whereas you have the reticular layer, which is deeper into the dermis, this area here, and that is a more dense connective tissue. Okay, moving into compact bone now, illustration number 2. So you start off, this arrow's pointing to the red here, that's your blood vessels, and with the blood vessels is also the nerves wrapped up in between them. The periosteum is this very small, very outer layer of the bone, with the endosteum being the inner part that covers the blood vessels and nerves. So the central canal is the actual canal where the blood vessels and nerves run. And then when you go on top here, you have the lacuna, which comes along the outside. The osteon, which is the whole circle unit there. Within this, you have your concentric lamella, which are the darker lines running around here. And then this outer layer on top would be your circumferential lamella. The osteocytes are located within the osteons, these circular units, and within those on the outside of it, you'll have your canaliculi. And finally, we're moving on to the muscular and skeletal structures of the body. So to start off, we have the external oblique muscle, which would be this muscle here. We then have the rectus abdominis, which would be your six-pack or the abdominal muscles right here. You have your sternocleidoid mastoid muscle, which is this large muscle group coming down through the neck in here. And finally, you have your trapezius muscle, which runs down from the neck to the top of the shoulder, top of the back. Your diaphragm is located under your lungs, behind the rectus abdominis muscles. Now we're going to move on to the skeletal system. To start off, we're going to go with the spinal vertebra. So in the top, in the neck, going down into the top of the back, you have your cervical spine, which has 7 vertebrae. It moves into your thoracic spine, which has 12 vertebrae. And then you have your lumbar spine, or your lumbar region of your spine, that has 5. You then go into your sacrum area, and that has 4 small vertebrae, and then your coccyx, which has 5 small fused vertebrae as well. Starting with the skull, you have the frontal bone, the occipital bone, the mandible, which is the bottom part of the jaw, and then the maxilla, which would be the top part of your jaw. So on the top is your parietal bone, and then your occipital bone, just to correct that. Your nasal bone is right where your nose would be, right here. Your hyoid bone is actually a U or semicircle shaped bone in the top of your neck. Your sternum is the center part of your rib cage in the front here. Your zygomatic bone is right on the outside of your eye, right here. And then your sphenoid bone is actually at the back of the eye socket. Hi again. This concludes this lab, and we'll see how it goes.